Hi, Val. Thanks for
Hey,
thanks for
Tom.
thanks for joining us for an interview this afternoon. I'm here with Andy Luce, a kind of colleague and old friend from actually the options trading world when we were both members of the Pacific Stock Exchange, like in another lifetime. And so yeah, he's doing website development and marketing and kind of keeping us on task because I have no idea what needs to happen with starting kind of a new educational project. So,
Well, nice to be with you both.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
nice
I
to meet
wanted
you.
to just get an idea of your personal, or I guess professional background and your interest in education. And I know you were, I think in San Diego doing a charter school previous to Logos. So maybe just fill us in a little bit on your professional experience.
Sure. I had my bachelor's degree when I was young and worked in a couple different jobs and went back to school at 40 to get my teaching credential. And I lived in California at the time. And my first job was to be a founding member of a charter school in Escondido, California called Classical Academy. They're still there. And I was a 5th grade teacher there and a principal and a 7th grade teacher. Lots of different hats when you're a developer. Wow. And I worked there for 9 years and got my admin, my master's in educational administration. And then I moved to Southern Oregon in 2008 and worked here for a long-term sub for a year. And you know, I didn't know anybody, so I knew that special education teachers would always be wanted. So I went to SOU, Southern Oregon University, and got what's called a special ed endorsement in special ed. And then after that summer, I read a little article in the newspaper that said the charter school was coming to Medford, and it was similar to the charter school that I had helped found in Escondido. And so I was hired, and then I joined the administration team, and again did a variety of positions. And then when it became apparent that we had some really high achieving students, we started slowly, but we added that option of our students going to college. And then it grew so much that it became my position. And now I'm the Scholars Academy director at Logos Charter School.
Oh, you know, it's funny. I've worked with you for so long. I didn't really know the kind of evolution of that. And yeah, for our listening audience, I work at Rowe Community College, which is also in Medford, where Logos Charter School is. And I think I met you, maybe I'm throwing out a guess, like 8 years ago, maybe, when some of your students started coming to RCC, and we were pretty excited about that. So we kind of supported you. And so what is, I'm trying to think about Logos as compared to maybe other charter schools. Is it pretty similar to charter schools nationwide?
Oh, that's a really great question. A couple of just basic facts about charter schools is that they're public, so we get state money. So anytime you see the word charter in a school, that means it's a public school. Some people think that we're private, but we're public. And each charter school can decide on their own teaching method. So charter schools were invented for innovation. And so here in Medford, we have 4 or 5 different charter schools, and they all are different. One is, you know, a certain teaching method. One is for at-risk students, K-8. One is for middle school. So we are a K-12 school, and our charter is for independent learning or home-based education. So our model is that students work with a teacher one-on-one and the parent. So it's a, you know, it's a team effort, and the teacher, who's called an ES, educational specialist, would talk to the parent about what, the learning goals are. We'll just talk about high school here. So obviously the goal there is for a high school diploma, but there's a lot of different ways to do that. And in high school, we offer them online courses through a couple of different platforms. They can come to school and take campus classes, so, in-person learning. And then in the later years, then they can take a college class, either one or even more. Some students stay part-time, and then other students in 11th and 12th grade become full-time at the community college.
Okay.
So we offer a personalized education for every student. There are also, they can earn credits by, taking dance lessons at the local dance studio, and that could count. So there's lots of other ways to earn credit. You can earn credit by being in a sports team at your local high school.
Okay.
So personalized learning is our teaching method.
Okay. Sounds pretty customizable and very innovative.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for explaining that. What struck me was how fast, you're in charge of the Scholars Academy, which, if I'm understanding it correctly, are the students at Logos who want to attend community college using state tuition monies that Logos gets, and try to knock off a year or two of community college while they simultaneously earn their high school diploma.
Yes, that is correct. And so of our, this year we have about 115. Of those, I would say, well, about 85 are full-time. And of those students, I would say probably 80 are interested in their future attending a university. So our students their aim in going to RCC would be to earn that general education, those credits that all bachelor's degree need. So the writing, math, speech, social science, humanities, science, they can earn those and earn what's called dual credits, or what we like to call double dipping. So a writing class at RCC counts for language arts in high school. So yes, you're right. Those students can earn that, they can start their college transcript and earn, from a few to a lot of college credits. And then we also have students who are interested in a technical career. So we've had students, I've got one boy right now who is interested in becoming an EMT. So he has finished most of his high school requirements, and next year as a senior, he'll be in the EMT program at RCC, and he'll earn a certificate and graduate from high school with that. So, some students are able to finish a certificate or an associate's degree, and some are just making progress on their path. Okay. And then we also have students who aren't sure what they want to do. So they want to try a variety of different kinds, especially the technical careers. So I've got some students who are in welding, and they might take a manufacturing class and maybe an electronics class. What are those classes? I mean, we all know what a welder is, that's pretty concrete, but some of those other careers aren't as well defined in a student's mind. So going to RCC gives them the opportunity to explore. And we welcome that because, in high school, we're not here ever to hurry, decide what you want to do for the rest of your life. We are in the market of, explore and let's just see where life takes you. You have time.
Right. And you guys do a really good job, I think, of doing a career course as well, I've noticed, so.
Well, thank you. Yes. Sherry Beeler and I teach 2 classes, career development class and decision making. And in that class, they write a career research paper, do a lot of career exploration over the internet. and then they do a project, a specific number of hours, and then they do a presentation. So in that process, they learn a lot. And sometimes they come out at the end and say, yeah, this is feeling, like a good path. And other times, especially after the project hours, no, I don't ever want to be a teacher.
Yeah.
So I always say, it's good to have the no list too. We want to develop the yes list, but it's very valuable to have a list of, nope, I know I don't want to do this. So I'm
I
all
was
for the no
talking with,
list.
I don't know if you remember a student named Emily Nielsen from 4 years ago or so. And I was talking to her this morning, and she said that Logos paid for half of her CNA, probably through Pacific Healthcare. And I was like, wow, that was cool. And she goes, and I found out I did not want to be a CNA. So now she's at U of O studying for elementary education, but she was thrilled to find that out early on rather than,
Yes. Yes.
so.
With health careers, I asked one key question: how do you feel about bodily fluids?
Right.
And I usually get a giggle on that, but it's true. I mean, the ones who like bodily fluids will, yeah, like, of course, and others, no. Okay, well, there's a whole bunch of careers that don't need you to like bodily fluids, but you can still be in healthcare.
Right.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that worked out for her.
Yeah. So talk to us a little bit, and Andy, anytime you have a question, you can jump in too. Talk to us a little bit about how quickly the Scholars Academy, or I don't know if it used to be called Pathfinders, but I just noticed that the students at Rogue Community College from Logos have grown exponentially in the last 5 years. Tell us about that growth and why that is, and is that a nationwide trend, or what do you think?
Well, when we started, I seriously didn't know anything about it. So, I met some key people, Brad and Darren. I mean, they were key in helping me learn how to do this. And, and I met you along the way, and many other people at RCC. Number one, I think that we have a really strong relationship and partnership with you, and that has helped tremendously. So for the first couple of years, I would say we might have started with 6, and then we doubled. I know we doubled and doubled and doubled for a couple of years. And now honestly, there's, my business manager says you can have this many full-time, what we call full-time Pathfinders in the program. And then our part-time students are called explorers. So I think that it's a couple of things. It's developing awareness within our population, our current population, to help them understand what our program is and what the benefits are. And so out of our 85 full-time Pathfinders, I would say we have at least half of those students come from internally. And then the other students, we start advertising on our website, et cetera, about May. And then we open it up for new to Logos students, is what we call them. And they come from traditional public school, and they come for a couple of reasons. I would say our main ones that we hear about are they're bored and they want a challenge. And one of the great parts about a college schedule in general, is that you get to plan your time, and there's some degree of choice. I mean, we need them to finish their graduation requirements first. And so we always have them do the writing and the speech and the math, of course. Those are basics, but there's just a lot of choice, which appeals to people. Another thing that I would say at least 90% of my seniors all work 20 hours a week. So we're talking about very active people who work and or volunteer. They play sports, they do theater. They're involved people. So sometimes, it's the schedule that gets them It's the challenge of, yes, they can take AP courses, but the traditional schools are a little bit more rigid in, well, freshmen can do this and sophomores can only do this, and et cetera. So there's some rigidity to traditional public schools. And then there's a student who feels, and they will come to us and say they don't like the environment, whether it's the learning environment, and that students misbehave in class and waste our time. Heard that a lot. The social environment does not suit them. So sometimes it's the environment of the traditional public school that dissuades them or just urges them to look elsewhere. And honestly, now that we've been around for as many years as we have, I think that we have a really good reputation. So we have, the people who come to us say, oh yeah, my sister's friend, or, whatever, they have heard about our program through the grapevine. Yeah. So I have appreciated that. And we have also gotten referrals from people at RCC, which pleases me to no end.
Yeah, totally.
Tom, may I ask a question about?
Absolutely,
sure.
Please.
Val, we've all heard the saying, if it's not broke, don't fix it. So when you very first started today, you said you felt very strongly about wanting to create a charter school and now have done it. And I'm just wondering, are you doing it as a value add to high school, or do you see something that's functionally broken in the high school experience?
When I lived in San Diego, I mean, my two daughters went through traditional public school, the neighborhood schools, and I was pleased as could be. I moved to Poway because it was, a very highly rated schools. Education has always been important to me, and there were no charter schools when they went through school. So my first experience of founding the school in Escondido was, honestly, I needed a job. So, I mean, I didn't have any philosophical view about anything at that point. I heard about it. Oh, okay, let's go. But in that time between 1999 and when I left in 2008, many charter schools started in Southern California, and maybe not 100%, but a very large percentage thrived. And, in that era, the internet started coming on, and, life has changed significantly for us all. And one of the things that we are now very used to is choice. So where in the quote unquote olden days, everybody went to, X high school, and now there are choices and open choices. So I think that people have enjoyed that. So, when I moved to Southern Oregon, after being in Southern California, it was a little strange, like, oh, where are the charter schools? Mm-hmm. So at that point, I was just used to choices, and we thrived from the beginning. The school district would put a cap on how many students we could accept, and we hit that every year. And we could add many more now if they let us. So
why do you think that is? Why do you think that people are gravitating? What is it that they're seeing, or what is it that they're not seeing in order for them to leave, the traditional high school?
Well, I think at first, the population that we drew were traditional homeschoolers that never had a choice. There's, you may not know them, but there is a large population of people, especially back in 2008, that homed at school, and they, that's how they did it. They bought their own curriculum, and so they were making their choice. It just wasn't really public. So then when we opened our school in '08, then they came to us, and what we provide homeschooling families is support with a teacher. We offer them a certain amount of money to buy their curriculum. We offered them social interaction.
Looks like you're frozen there, Val. We'll kind of wait for you to come out of the deep Zoom freeze. This is how the archaeologists.
Let's try something new. And when people respond by coming, then we've got a a good product.
Mhm.
And I have to say that it doesn't work for everyone. We don't keep everyone who comes. It's not necessarily easy. For our students who are there, they need to have really good time management. They need to be organized, and those skills are, like in Tom's college success and survival class, that's our first class that we have our college students take. But even before that, they do have to have time management down, because there's no bell at home. They have to, and depending on what their age is, but say high school, they've got to get themselves up, and they self-motivate to get their work started and persist and finish, and all those skills, and be organized. There's it takes a lot, and not everybody has all of that, whether it's support from parents at home, or self-motivation to accomplish that for whatever reason. So we're not mad if it doesn't work out. We are always talking about what is a good fit for a school. And with open choices, then students can, depending on how many choices there are around, then you can shop.
Yeah. I noticed when I put my kids through school, it was this race to move to the area, to be in the district, to get your kids into the school, which then drove the house prices higher, which then excluded a lot of people, which then meant that it was just more and more of the same people going, and the diversity kept dropping and dropping and dropping because of the way that the system was structured. And we felt that we had to take them out and give them a different high school environment as well, because it was just so many people chasing the same choice that,
well, I would say
it was almost like, it just forced it. Yeah.
Yeah, we serve two counties, Jackson and Josephine County, and we have, I would say, I don't know my current statistics, but I would say we're probably at 50% Medford in Jackson County. But other than that, we have students who live way, way out there in Josephine County, in all parts of both counties. And so we have diversity that way. Southern Oregon isn't real diverse ethnically, but I would say that, our school represents that.
But I also found it, Val, weird that we're teaching kids to respond to bells when there's no bells in normal life.
Yeah.
I mean, so we're mad at them for something that they need to learn and then no longer respond to for the rest of their life. So I always felt that was very weird. We're creating this environment we're teaching them to thrive in an environment that no longer serves them once they leave. I always felt that very strange. So
That's
it sounds like it sounds like you and a lot of these programs are taking that into consideration. You need to learn how to manage your own time, manage yourself, get yourself into school or into the class or into Zoom or whatever it is that you're doing, which is what the rest of us have to do on a daily basis.
The whole thing about taking responsibility and, answer your email. I'm going to send you a calendar invite, come on time, just all of those little things that add up, but they're very real life.
Yes.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
interviews that I'm doing some interviews with students who have gone through Logos and now they're seniors in university, and kind of asking them to look back at what that experience meant to them, or, how it prepared them for university. And that's a common theme, that they feel by going to community college, they got way better prepared for university than if they would have been in high school. Learning to manage themselves and their time, and learning to talk to instructors when the class is only 25 people, so that when they go to university and there's 125 people, they feel courageous and comfortable enough to talk to the teacher. So yeah, a lot of people are saying it's prepared. They think it's prepared them better than their high school was doing, their traditional high school.
Well, thank you. Those are all things that I really love to teach, and also using resources. As we know, any college, whether it be community college or university, have different programs and resources available to students. So teaching them, what they are and what they mean, and all the vocabulary that is involved with that, and everything about financial aid and scholarship writing. Yeah, and talking to the instructors, and how, if there's a problem, like, how do you do that? How do you approach a instructor with a problem? And yeah, those are things that I'm very proud of. So it's not just academic, it's a lot of skill building.
Yeah. You mentioned, I wanted to follow up. You'd mentioned that Logos, or maybe the Scholars or Pathfinder kind of dual credit in community college programs, aren't for everybody, and that not everybody stays. One of the concerns we have in promoting this pathway of early college dual credit for people around the country is, what if they decide to jump out of traditional high school, go to something like a Logos kind of program, they're earning college credit, and then they realize, I really want to go back to high school for my senior year. I miss it. Do you know if those credits they've earned in college will actually kind of reverse transfer back at a traditional high school? Or if they decide to do that, do they drop back a year or two because they've been gone?
Oh, that is a great question. So all the classes that students take at a community college are transcribed on their high school transcript. So from term to term to term, they're already on there. And with our transcript, it actually says Rogue Community College, English Comp 1, such and such credit, college algebra. So it's already on there. So no, they're never losing credits by going to the community college. And I will tell you, when I was speaking about Logos in general, we have students that jump back into traditional public school. I might have had one in 9 or 10 years from my program, but it just doesn't happen. Once they get the bug about, like, oh, okay, this is really good.
There's not a lot of, okay.
They don't revert back.
That's a little bit of a relief to hear,
Okay.
because
I didn't know that was a worry. No, that just doesn't happen.
I guess my wife and I, when we decided to give this option to our son, who had just finished 8th grade, and so as a 14-year-old, we were like, well, if you want to just go to Rogue Community College, that's great. You don't actually have to go to high school, and you can just earn a 2-year, associate's degree and then go on to university. And we were like, what if he doesn't like it and he spends a year and then he wants to go back to high school? We didn't know if the high school would accept that year of college classes back and transcript it onto the local high school transcript and allow him to graduate with a high school diploma.
Yeah, that one I'm not going to promise. It depends on what school.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a big question mark.
Yeah. I think a very small percentage of the people that we will be helping understand this process will be choosing to do what we're doing. Most, I think, will be finding a charter school like Logos and working the program for dual credit and getting their tuition paid for.
Another part of my program that I absolutely love are especially seniors who know that their next step is going to the community college. They're not ready for my full-time program, but I love getting them in the winter or spring terms of their senior year, takes the college success class, and help them to just dip their toes into the community college and acquaint them with the resources. How do you connect with an advisor, all those skills. And then when they go off as a freshman into Rogue Community College, then they know some things. They may not know as many things as my Pathfinders, but they know more than the average student. So I especially love helping seniors.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
helps them. The statistics I'm sure you're aware of nationwide, when you do that, it gives those students a lot better chance of actually attending college when you do that for them.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so I'm curious, the project we're starting is called Jump Education, and we'll be, the reason we're doing it is that when our son started attending Rogue Community College, and all our friends around here were like, how's Orion doing in high school? And then we'd have to talk for like 15 minutes and explain, well, he's not doing, and they're always like, that's possible. Oh, so he's getting a GED, or so he's getting a high school. It was so many questions. So we were like, we just need to create a website where we can refer them to, and that's kind of evolved over time. But given the scope of what our endeavor, our project is, I'm wondering from you, how you see Jump Education fitting into this whole kind of evolution in high school. And that's kind of a big question, but I'm just curious if you see a place for us that's going to fill a niche. I think you mentioned it's helping people understand a broad range of choices, but
yeah, I think it's great. We're all busy. Parents are busy, kids are busy, and there's choices out there. And you kind of heard maybe a little something about some choices, but okay, it's going to take time and effort to investigate your choices. For me, when you told me about your new business, I think you can be the guy to have learned about the choices in Southern Oregon. And there's not just our program, there are several. And so you become acquainted with those, 3 or 4 choices, and then you'll be able to clearly and succinctly say to a parent, here are the choices, and then be able to, learn more about the student and learn more about, what their interests and goals are, and be able to, advise parents and students, these are your choices. And, sometimes parents want more information, more advice. I think it's great. Now in Southern California, what we have times 10, there's so many choices. So I think that you're going to find a group of people that are really grateful that you do some filtering for them and be able to have done the homework for them and just focus their attention.
Okay. Yeah, I'm hoping to, a couple of kids just in my neighborhood right across the street. There was a kid who was struggling in high school. He was like a star pitcher on the baseball team. He was, this big person, but he was socially different. And so teased kind of relentlessly in high school. And so he just hated going to high school. So over the course of about 6 months, I was talking to him and then his parents, and it took them, took some conversations for them to make the leap. And he's in his second term at Rogue Community College now. And I asked him, he doesn't speak a lot. So, but I asked his parents, how's it going? And they were so thrilled. They were like, it's a life changer. He loves it. And all his friends in high school are hating it. so he feels like, and he's still playing baseball and sports at the school.
Right.
So when I think about the number of people across the country that might fit into that category that aren't aware of a choice like this, I'm really excited to educate them about it.
Right.
So,
Now, you make a really good point about parents, because think about this generation who's in high school right now. Their parents didn't have any choices. They went to their neighborhood school, or they went to a private school, but it was what we would all call traditional high school. And so a couple of questions that we have from parents, especially moms. So do you have a prom? That comes up so often.
right.
So I said, no, we don't have a prom, but our local high schools welcome our students as guests. So, you can go to the football games or sports activities or etc. and the prom, and you just need to have a friend invite you as the guest. And I sign a lot of permission slips for our students to go to prom. So you're right, they can join in those, what moms will call like the big deals about high school. I'm not sure that they're as big of a deal to our students anymore, but they are to the moms. Other dances are the same, homecoming, etc. Our students participate with their local neighborhood schools in sports, and we, are very supportive of that. I just sent my first student this fall to U of O to be on their track and field team. My first D1 athlete. I'm very proud of that. Jade is wonderful. I hope to go see her compete this spring. So we have, great athletes. We have more and more students who are, starting to go out of state. And I've got a couple students who are applying to some big time schools, some big time private school universities. So we'll see how they do. But yeah, with a college schedule, since you don't have to be in school from 8 to 3 every day, it gives you a lot of leeway to pursue other things.
Yeah, totally. I don't know if you remember a student, I don't know if she was from Logos or not, but I was struck by, and this was a while ago, 6-7 years ago, there was a young woman who was going, actually, it wasn't a Logos student. She was going to South Medford, and she was a cheerleader, and every lunch she would go and hang out with her friends and eat. She was doing all the social stuff at South Medford, but she was taking all her classes at RCC. And then she ended up getting into Yale. I was like, wow, that's impressive.
That's impressive. No, I do not have, nope, she wasn't mine.
Yeah, I've just realized that was South Medford. So
yeah.
Yeah, so there's some high achievers too, for sure. Yeah.
Indeed.
Andy, do you have any kind of questions coming up or?
Not right now. I mean, Val's been really good about giving super full answers,
Yeah.
How about you? Is there another one that you have?
One question I would, be curious about. You've been in kind of education for quite some time, and you're seeing it evolve. There's more choices now. There's, what do you see education doing in the next, high school education doing in the next 10 to 20 years, especially now that we've had a pandemic and everybody's gotten more comfortable with online learning. And I think actually there's a lot of high school students from the people that we know that are really not having a good time this year with their traditional high school and the online environment. How do you see education evolving over the next period?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think probably the biggest thing that COVID has shown everybody in so many ways, big and small, is that it's okay to do things differently. Like a year ago, none of us would have been that comfortable on Zoom, and now kindergartners do Zoom with no problem whatsoever. So I think that, breaking out of that tunnel vision of school is X, Y, and Z. It's a classroom, it's a teacher, it's this, but to open it up and oh, there's more out there.
Right.
So just opening our eyes to new possibilities, and at first it seems strange and awkward and but you know, a lot of people are thriving in this current environment. And
Yeah.
so it'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm not a predictor, but I would say that we're just gonna be okay with changes. And yeah.
I was surprised, having taught college success classes for 12 years in the classroom, and I love teaching in the classroom. I love people. And so when we had to go online, I was like, most people are just teaching it as a web-based course, no video component. And I was like, I'll teach the video component, even though it was going to be more work. And I'm so glad I did. And what I've really am surprised by is the quality of work reflected in the quality of their journal writing, their thoughtfulness, even the engagement in class is so much better than it was in the classroom. I'm still scratching my head on that one. People stay after class routinely, like a long time, or I'll try to end class early and they'll rebel. It's like they're so socially starved, I think, that they just want to hang out. And so it's making for a really good academic and social environment over Zoom, which I would have never guessed. So,
well, and I think with breakout rooms, right now I'm taking a Spanish class, and when there's two of you in the breakout room, you gotta talk. And so I imagine that you do breakout rooms. I did for my college class that I taught, and the ones that traditionally have sat in the back and really not participated, you kind of have to participate now.
right.
So
Yeah.
whether it's a camera on or camera off, but yeah, you've got to speak up. So I do like that part.
Yeah.
I do have actually one quick question, if I
Right.
might. Val, what do you think the hardest thing is? And I don't want to go too far down this road, but or what do you think the best way, however you want to answer it, it is to deal with the different concerns that a child and a parent would have. So a child might be really excited about, wow, this is going to be great for me. And then the parent says, this is not going to be great for you, or this is going to be, I don't want to take that risk of making the wrong decision for you. So just do what everybody else has done. Or the parent seeing that their child is struggling and finding a way to say, you're struggling, I found a better way, let's talk about it, but not wanting the child to feel like they're broken or something like that. Like, how do you do that dance between those two, the parents and the child, in those conversations?
Yeah, I would say for the parents who are reluctant, that for me to give them examples of students who have been successful. I think that, if your group of friends and your family are all traditional education people, then they may not really encourage you, like, ooh, that sounds weird, or that sounds ugh. So if I can bring in some other examples of how students have succeeded, I think that has been helpful to parents. And then that whole thing about the prom, that you can also keep those ties with your friends. You're not cutting every social tie by choosing a different school. I think that's helpful. And then for just kind of like the student who doesn't feel that traditional public school is working for them, with my special ed background, I think that I always have a sensitive ear to those kinds of things. So honestly, I think it makes students feel good that they're not the only one, because I don't feel shy about saying, other students have felt that traditional public school is not a good fit for them. And you can almost see, like, okay, I'm not alone in this feeling, because the majority of anybody is going to traditional public school. And so they already feel like an odd man out for whatever reason. But then to say, oh, there are others that have been successful and they fit in. I just have lots of examples.
That's great.
So, and students have come back and said, oh, this feels right. There's just such relief on their face.
Right.
Yeah. And the other thing is, we don't throw them in full-time college right away. We have them take the college success class, and we want them to be successful. So we advisors, Kristen and me, we are watching that they're successful in this math class and writing. Okay, so, the college success and one college class. And then we're going to add, so you have a fuller load and then full time. So it's not just sink or swim. We are very, very interested in them earning A's and B's. And so even when a student earns a C, we're right in there saying, so what happened? Oh, well, I didn't turn in some assignments and then the teacher wouldn't take them. Yeah, that's a hard lesson. In high school these days, what we hear is that you can just turn it in again and again, and then the teacher, oh, okay, now you passed. And so there is some transition between high school and college, and there are lessons learned, and some the hard way. Like if it's due on Friday at 5 o'clock and you turn it in at 5:01, it's going to be a 0. Oh, but blah, 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 blah. It's still going to be a 0. Yeah, it's still going to be a 0. So there are lessons learned along the way, but we're happy to, coach the student on, okay, well, if you don't feel that that's fair, or you feel like, whatever the situation is, then communicate with the instructor, and the parents can do the same. But, you're independent and you're the college student, so this is how this goes. So I love life lessons. Those are wonderful. They're not always easy and they're not always fun at all, but we can help them through that, as opposed to if you're off to a university, you're a freshman, you didn't turn something in, your grade is going down, 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 and you just hunker and you hide, and no one is at your side saying this is what you do, then that's, I think that's why a lot of freshmen will tank and drop out, is that, well, they're afraid, like, ooh, I'm not going to tell my mom.
Yeah, they haven't learned how to take responsibility and say, I need help.
Right. Yes.
Yep.
So if we can help them with those life lessons, I love it. I absolutely love it.
Great.
So slow pace, getting them into full time when they're ready. And the kids know when they're ready. They really do. They'll tell us. Yep. They're good judges of themselves.
That's great.
Well, you have been a very thorough answerer. That's great.
Thank you.
Yeah. I can't think of what you just spoke to. I've heard students say over and over when I'm interviewing them, like those kind of, the way they've gotten prepared has really helped them succeed in university, and they don't like hide out and fail out, and and they're at home with their parents, and they're in a safe area. They're not so they're kind of, it's an easier transition than just jumping off to university and we're in a dorm and we're partying and, oh God, I just failed my class.
Right. Yes.
Valerie, is there anything else that you feel that you wanted to add, that you would want to throw out? Just any random other thoughts or anything that you feel like we should be thinking about?
Not really. Right now I'm talking a lot about financial aid with students, and that's a whole nother conversation. But I love that we talk to our students about financial aid and teach them and their parents together about it, and scholarship searching and all of that is another big part of my job. And advising, which classes to take when. And, at Rogue Community College, they have something called a degree audit, where they can track, okay, if I want this associate's degree or this certificate, these are the classes, and just how to manage all of that. So again, a self-management skill. But I've had students come back to me who have gone to university, and my students know how to do all of that and how to talk to an advisor. And I've had so many students come back to me and say, I had to teach my roommate and all these other people about how to do that. Thank you for teaching me. Okay. So again, and self-advocacy is such a big one that we've already said. The other thing that we haven't talked about is disability services, or at Rogue Community College, it's called the Access Center. So I have any number of students who in high school have what's called a 504 plan or an IEP. And so maybe off the cuff, someone might think, oh, certainly they're disqualified from being able to go to community college or being in my program. And that just isn't true, because I have a really good relationship with Andy Childress, who's the director of the Access Center. And, Rogue Community College can provide accommodations for students who are eligible via one of those two vehicles. And so they can be successful at community college with accommodations. And so I teach them all about how that works and how you select them, and work with Andy on that. So if a student has a 504 plan or an IEP, they're still entitled to education. We encourage them to continue their education. So I think that's the one thing we missed.
That's great. And what percentage would you guess of the 85 full-time kind of Scholars Academy students might have, are working with Access and getting accommodations?
I'd say 6 or 8.
Okay.
Yeah. And 10% is for high schools. That's a pretty common percentage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're still able to succeed pretty well. They're doing pretty well in community college.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good.
Yep.
I'm glad
And
you brought
that's
that up.
what one of the best parts about a community college, and kind of by definition, is that they offer education for the community. So it's, we as a whole world have to continually retrain parents, pretty much. Like college isn't just a 4-year university. College is all levels of community college, certificate for the workforce. And we have students who do that. And we have associate degrees, and then you can get a career from that, or go on to university. So I think as a in education, we have to keep teaching parents that college is for everyone, and everyone can benefit.
That's great.
Yeah. Well, thanks for all that you do. You have been, not to put you on a pedestal, but you've kind of been, your program and you have been a real kind of light for me working at the community college, because having kids have a choice that's going to help them out is so great when I have them in my room, because I'm a mental health counselor. And so sometimes I'm talking to them about their life, in greater detail. And when they find something that works for them, the weight that you speak about coming off their shoulders,
Yes,
it changes their life. And,
yes.
and by the way, as an instructor at the college, it makes our classroom environment so much better when there's some 15 and 16-year-olds in the class. I mean, we have like war veterans and combat veterans and people, all kind of walks of life. And when we get the young kids in there, first of all, everybody in the class loves them. It's like, They get so much positive reinforcement. They add so much value. It just makes a community college more of a community. So it's great what you've done.
Well, I have to say that you are one of our favorite college success and survival teachers. We're very excited when our students choose your class, and you've got a slew of them coming.
Okay, good. Keep it going.
I'm gonna end with one thing, and I just have done a lot of informational meetings. The other characteristic that we want for students earning dual credit and going to a community college is maturity. And so I talked to parents about that, so this is not high school anymore. Your student is going to meet other students who are high school from us, with students in their 20s, 30s, 50s, 60s, and they have a wide range of worldviews and perspectives. So you have to expect that. And so your student needs to be mature to be able to go there and handle all of those things. So that's kind of an important characteristic for students, is that maturity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's been nice chatting with you,
Yeah.
fellas.
Thanks
Thank you so much.
You bet.
All right.
Okay.
We'll see you later, Val. We'll be in touch. And thanks for sending all those emails.
Okay,
with,
take care. Nice to meet you, Andy.
You too. Thank you, Val.
Bye.